Anyway, we are on live. I was very happy on Saturday that it rained a little bit,
Mm.
and me and Michelle, we went to a rave, and on the way back, it started raining ferociously. I thought, that's brilliant. So by the time we got here, there was no rain. So I
Well,
was really upset. Um, but there's something that there's something slightly controversial which I want to share with you tonight. But I'm just wait. Hopefully the image will come through because I'm waiting for it to come through from my phone to here. So we won't be doing that first. So what does we gotta look what Judith says, right? Judith did send me a message, right? So we'll have a little look on my phone to see what Judith said. Oh yeah, Kate, if you remember Kate, she's Kate said, I've had a mad rush of blood to the head, and I've booked the brass band to play at St. Barrack's Chapel on Barry Island. Brilliant. Extremely odd. Strange woman, that Kate. I got a ghost walk this Friday as well, so that should be rather interesting. So, Judith, here we go. Hiya. Mind if I miss tonight and join tomorrow, please? Is it the same time? So obviously Pat's here tonight, so they're doing a bit of a swap.
yeah.
Yeah, so it was a bit strange last week. There were 7 of us, but one was away. There would have been 8 of us. So we're a few down on a Tuesday. I don't know why that is, but obviously, Will's still away, as Andy said. Oh, Anne should be here. She had a wool. She had our wool. She's been fondling with the lanolin rich wool, and she said she enjoyed it.
Jolly good.
So, so tonight I'm thinking of talking about Chelmsford. There you go. That's not something you usually talk about. Trees and farming. I've had a revelation.
Ooh.
And on Wednesday I'll be sharing some images of the new Odysseus film, right? Because one of our people on Wednesday has actually been to that, so we won't be doing that tonight because we're not. One thing that I'm really, 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 really upset about, right? I missed the Young Washington film, right? Because I've only just found out about it, and Andy Selleck was directing it or co-directing it. Was actually in it. The guy who plays Gollum and Selleck, isn't it? Selkirk or whatever. Anyway, he's in it. He's in that Washington film, and I missed it. Right, I'm really upset about that, but that's life. It's been a very busy week. Very, very busy. A new film working on soon, and yes, lots happening. So, Margaret, any news from you?
Well, I believe with the dry weather, they can see a lot of
Go for
archaeology
it.
in Wales.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know what they've seen exactly, but from the air, quite a lot is being revealed.
They did actually show a photograph of me naked, running around my land, but I don't think that counts as
Yeah, it
archaeology,
was
does it?
on the telly. I wondered who it was.
No, that was me. That was me.
That was you, was it?
Yeah, you
Okay.
should know it was me. Obviously, I had a beard on in that with long hair, so um, yeah. So yeah. All right then, fair enough. I'm glad you saw that. Apparently, lots of things are being found, and I haven't been able to digest it yet. Oh, and I'm very pleased about something myself. I've managed to order a Munsell's color chart, right? To start analyzing about 300 to 400 bits of medieval pottery, which we're going to put into a report, which should be available at the end of August, which will be published in September in the Archaeology Wales report. So that's good, something to do, and so I'll probably be reporting on that every now and again. So that sort of going back to your aerial photography again. I need to look at what it's saying, and it's very interesting naturally, but I need to know. So probably won't be covering that tonight. But anyway, thanks for that. Right, Rog. With the new editor of the magazine, right? She's gonna be putting in the article on your Roman fort in Cardiff, right? Finally, it's going in. So don't worry about it, Roger. Yeah. So
What's
any
that, the
news from
Roman
you,
fort
Rog?
in Cardiff?
What's that?
What was it for? The Roman.
You sent me copies of a map.
Yeah, well, that's the one in the showing the Roman station. Whitchurch.
That's the one.
That one?
So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing that. That's going to go
So
in
I'm
there, Rog.
researching that now. There's a plot next door to it where the first church in Whitchurch, which was the start of Whitchurch, has gardens there and the remnants of the church, the base. And a dig had been done there, and I'm about to go to the archives to see what came out of the dig because they found at least a Roman coin and some pottery out of this dig in the gardens. Now, the gardens, if you look on your map, you can see it where the road bends round. There's a sort of small plot there. And what I'm wondering is what else had been found in the area. I could even ask people in the street where they show the Roman station if they found anything, because the field where the station was totally taken up with the new terrace of houses. I thought, right, that's one thing. When I find what they dug out of the gardens, these St Mary's Gardens, they call it, will be interesting because there's been something there now. Looking on the roads, I've got a map of all the Roman roads in Britain, which I bought on the trip somewhere to Hampshire or Dorset. And it shows certain roads in Cardiff, but there's no road shown on this area. Now, the road north, which went through Caerphilly, is the nearest one. And of course, the other one was West A48. This one was a little way away from this Roman station. Now, I'm wondering if actually there'd been a trackway or some sort of small road lane thing, which went from that area to the main road, which is now called Caerphilly Road. Now, I'm not sure, there's nothing as yet coming up, but when they found a few things on the Gardens site, you think, well, a Roman station could be some sort of monitoring, not even a fortress. I don't know quite when you say station what it'll be.
Yeah.
But there's been a Roman presence there, so depending what else might be there, it'll be interesting. So I'm going to suggest to the friends, I'm one of the friends now, is that they're constantly gardening there to take up old plants and digging, is to do a metal detecting survey of the whole area to see what might have been disturbed once I know where they had done the dig. And if people are sort of a bit annoyed about, oh, it's a burial site, now didn't consecrate it, but burial, I'll remind them I'm only going down 9 inches, which is the same as the gardeners doing there for the plants, if not more. So it's all based on that area. I think it's the same one you got, showing the Roman station in a road called T and a Push Road. So you can check that. But what I need to do is more research, get the archives material, what's there, being done, and then start making roads and asking these people, is there anything against us doing it? And to do it, I'd have to hire a metal detector and say nothing to anybody, because I'll warn them that if you do broadcast, you'll get some clowns going in there trying their luck. So that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I'm in contact with the gardener there who's doing it for the council, as well as the friends, naturally. So
Well,
that's the project I'm building on to see, because there's nothing as yet public anyway from any books saying much about the area, except for odd map references and what we've found already. So there we are.
on everything that you've said, I will be sharing the map, but on everything that you've said, one thing that I've had a conversation yesterday is that. By the way, I'm not in I'm not in the caravan today, even though it's all ready for us to. So we will be there next week. But I had a conversation yesterday, and I just thought, right, and this covers exactly the point Roger made, right? There's no real databases in Wales, and it's very there's no real databases in England either. Scotland are starting to get there, but there's no database so you can actually press a button and all the information comes up from that locality because it's spread over numerous databases, right? Now, when I was a child, going into the 1990s, doing research myself, I was able to go into a load of archives and I was able to get exactly what I wanted. Now you can't go into those archives because it's online. You've got to get appointments. And when you start looking stuff up on the internet, it's so laborious, right? So with all this technology that we've got, it's made things a lot worse trying to do research because there's no central locality to get all this information, which means that we're falling behind in the stakes of being able to do archaeological research in Britain, which is a problem. And little projects like Rogers are not are very difficult to do because Rogers got a lot of things to look at instead of being able to press a button on a computer and come up with all the information which isn't publicly available.
I've got some references on the sources of the information already. So I'm going to the archives to rattle through it on these references.
Good. Wouldn't it be great, Roger, to press a button and all the information comes up and it don't?
Well, yes, but that will come if we can work on something. The proverbial pressing a button or the reference can get a central core of information and references within them in the blue to link out to things, which is what we could do once we got enough information that's clear, because what I'm looking at is very well untested. You know, it could be anything.
Yeah.
Hello. You know, good. So it's all new stuff, depending what I'm allowed to do. And one of the members of the Friends of this Gardens, I think it's a daughter, lives in one of these houses. And if you look in your map, you'll see this small field on there with Roman station,
which I'm going to do.
And that total area now is the housing. Now, if it was digging for Britain, they could be digging up the garden and finding anything, all sorts. But what I'm going to do is go down there and ask if people have found anything.
Good, and I think that would be a good thing to do. Good project.
Just slowly go down somewhere, and when it's cooled a bit, to just see what's going on, because in these gardens, which you'll see on the map, is a little way on the bend, is a little way away from the area. So I thought, well, if say 100, couple of 100 meters down is the Roman station, what the heck is where we are in the gardens? You know what I mean? I don't see it. Well, it's being a fortlet or something biggish, but it on the map. If you look on the map, it says Roman station brackets supposed to be the remains of. So it's a little bit. It could be a legend. It could be an odd story, or nothing. But because he found stuff in the gardens, that's a stepping point, a starting point to say, well, there's something going on there.
Good. Well, anyway, keep us posted.
When I get something going somewhere.
Keep us posted, Roger. Keep us posted. And I'll show everybody that map when we've started as well. Anything?
1875 survey, you should have.
1877. I've got it there. So I think it's 1877. You could be right. Okay then, Andy. Anything from you, lovely?
Yeah, I was watching just a generic program on mysteries of the deep, as in underwater, the other day.
We haven't done underwater for ages. Go for it.
No, it came across. I mean, it's an old program, but it came across a thing at Lake Constance, in Switzerland on the Swiss side of underwater a row of what looked like cairns, stone cairns that over 6 miles in length along one side.
Yeah.
And they were speculating. They've no idea what they are. They realized after a while of doing some research that they were not underwater when they were built. So the water
Obviously, yeah.
level was maybe a few meters down, but they still have no idea what they are.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. Never heard about that. So they dated it to Neolithic. So.
Right. Okay. I think you're going to say a Roman thing then.
No,
Obviously,
no, it's Neolithic. But it was just, oh, I'd
Right.
never even heard of that before. So.
Are
Oh,
they,
cool.
you mean like a pile of stones, piles of
Yeah.
stones?
Yeah, in a row, yeah, all along one bank of the thing. They were for some reason they were referring it to the Swiss Stonehenge, but it's like I don't see the relevance whatsoever.
How were
And
they
No.
very high?
and
The
no,
remains?
2 or 3 meters high.
Oh,
So
quite substantial then.
yeah, but, I forget what they said. It was something like 75,000 tons worth or something, which they were quite amazed at, which they thought was modern or moderner because of the amount that was there. And they could, how could they possibly have moved that amount of stone? Which is, I think, what they were connecting it with Stonehenge, but there's absolutely no relevance. But it was a road that was clearly following the coastline along. They tried to make out some sort of alignment until they found some more that weren't in alignment with anything. So.
Was
I'd never.
Switzerland part of the Gaulish? Were they the Gauls, Switzerland?
It's pre that, yeah, but
Was it pre?
Yeah. But it's in that Gallic landscape. Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But I just never heard of it
Tree
before.
that.
That was all. I was quite surprised.
Mm.
And obviously a big site, but all underwater now. So
This is the thing. Lots of these things just suddenly appear or have been there, and you haven't been told about them. There are lots of these types of things. So, right. Thank you for that, Andy. Pat.
yeah. Sorry, they were trying to compare them with cranogs as well because of the water thing, but they
right.
weren't. They weren't. I think they were. I think they're more cairns. So, they weren't in the water at the time. So
6 miles, that's a long. I mean,
6 miles. Yeah.
yeah, a line of them kind of following the coastline around.
Intriguing.
King Canute trying to stop the water, but obviously thousands of years before. Exactly.
Whether they were just on the edge of the water or in the water when they built them, I don't know. But,
yeah.
And they think Neolithic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's going to be 5,000 years ago. So
yeah, that's the date they were chucking at it, but it's a very big period. So
yeah, as we know, and obviously it could have been built over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So right, okay then. Okay. Anything from you, Pat? Is a bit curious why you're on tonight, but you're very welcome to join us. That's fine.
son is coming over tomorrow night with his wife and the kids. So
Well, that's fine. That's fine. You're glad you're here anyway, so that's good. Thank you very much. Right. Anything else from you, Margaret, or you've had your piece?
They found a die at Hadrian's
Di
Wall.
Jones.
At what's the new place called at Hadrian's Wall? I can't remember its name. Near Vindolanda, beginning with a M. You know, the new fort that they found.
Oh, that one. The mob.
What's it called? Beginning with M.
Oh, for God's sake! Let me find it.
I went there a few weeks ago and I can't remember
New
its
Roman
name.
fort on Hadrian's Wall.
Beginning with an M.
Wow.
Yeah, you've seen one. You've seen
Magna.
That's the one. They found a die made of bone.
Oh, that's a die made of bone.
Is that exciting?
Well, of course it is.
Oh, good.
A die made of bone. I don't know how that works. How do you get die?
Are they always made of bone?
No, dye are made of flowers. Dye's made of all sorts of different things.
So they're never ever made with bones. So this is quite rare then.
Yeah, it sounds a bit odd, but it sounds very odd.
Wonder whose bone it was.
Dave, Dave. You fell for that one. You did. You did. Right. Okay. Let's get cracking on. And weirdly enough, we'll start with Roger's map, but I'll just we won't spend too long on that, but we'll just get Roger's map up. Is a good place to start, right? Oh, and I better. It's on my naked legs, right? I had something on while I took the photograph of it, but it's tough now.
Roger looks phenomenally well, doesn't
What?
he? Just your skin looks really good, Roger.
It does.
Doesn't he look really well?
Roger looks great
Yeah,
for
he's
once.
a new man.
Yeah, exactly. Can I? Roger does
Ready
look
to go. I'll
What's
be
that?
next week, Margaret.
Pardon?
He'll be up next week, Roger, to see you.
Oh, for a massage.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, well, whatever,
Can't
I
wait.
can check your leg. If that's
He's got to
well,
check your leg. Yeah, he's a
My
man of
leg's
the world.
okay.
He's hey, by the way, Roger, if you say you're married to Claire, she'll take you out for a meal.
Fish and chips at on-site chippy.
Yeah. Just say you're married, Roger, and he'll have Claire taking you all around the place. Before we start, right, as I was sorting out the caravan and stuff, there was this book that I just thought I'll have a little bit of it's a book in Shadow Come Right, and I was looking through it, and I just thought, that looks nice. That looks nice. Really nice illustrations. There we go. And I just thought, that looks nice. We'll have a quick look at them. And I just thought, right, okay, and that looks nice. A tablet, a Roman intact tablet found on the west coast of Cymru, Wales, right? Which is the only will, complete intact will. I don't think it's the only will, but this is the only intact will that survived from the Roman period, and this is found in West Wales.
Is it by Presbytagus?
It's not by Prasa Blumin Tagus, no, because it's in West Wales, you clown.
Well, that's a shame.
Oh,
don't be rude, Carl.
hang on. Hey, so it's just like a normal bog standard person like Roger, and it's not important. You're going to upset Roger in a minute.
No.
Roger, as much as a creeper as I am, don't you forget it. Right, so here we go. Hopefully you'll see a little map on here. And it goes as follows. There. Are you seeing a little map?
No.
Not yet.
Nothing.
No?
Not yet.
You're not seeing a little map.
It says,
yes.
yeah, we got it now. Yeah.
The tumulus and a
Oh,
Roman.
I tell you what, guys, right? Let the grass grow under our feet, right? We'll just wait all day for the image to come up, right? So, Roger, you know when you were talking earlier on, where's this garden that you were on about?
Right. Okay.
My cursor there, just guide the cursor
Yes.
left or right.
How can I explain it? You see the thing saying Roman station on the left?
Yeah.
That sort of, or is it a sort of slightly conical shaped piece of land? Middle of the image on the left.
No, on the right, you mean?
Yeah, carry on down there, down that road.
Yeah, down here. Yeah.
Then you've got in the middle a pile of trees called the pines.
Right.
Then if you go right again, you'll see the image of the church.
Right, we're at the church. Yeah, we're in the
Mary's church. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the
right,
graveyard.
more or less where your hand is around there.
Yeah.
What they call St Mary's Gardens. It was St Mary's Church, and the beginning of Whitchurch or Whitechurch. That was the White Church.
Okay. And is the tumulus still there now, Roger?
No, it's on the other side of the road, but that's been built on.
Oh.
It's what's new.
Hang on a minute.
It's shown
They
on the
built.
map on the right. You can see it on the right side of that road that curves round. You can see it marked out, circle there.
Oh, so the tumulus is still there.
No, they built on it. As far as I know, it's gone.
Oh, great.
Oh, heck.
This map shows 1875. It said surveyed.
Yeah.
So it was there then, but then with the new flats somewhere, as usual, they took it away.
Oh, heck.
Yeah, bloody hell. Oh, yeah, I tell you, it must have been people from Barry. They steal anything. Anyway, thank you for that, Roger. I really appreciate that. And obviously, what I'm going to do. There's something like
See what we can do. See what I can find out.
something this will go in the magazine anyway, and we'll write something up, and then Roger will be able to write part 2 when he's got more information, if you don't mind, Roger. So
no, but what would you say when you say a Roman station? Is that a common term for something, or just what they got on this map?
right, okay. So the principal rule of thumb is that when things are marked on maps from this period, inevitably anything that the cartographers think might be historical usually turned out to be marked on maps as Roman, right? Now, the word Roman station is really odd. The wording station is odd, right? The station would refer to a small sort of stop away locality where people would stop along a length of a Roman road. And then later maps, there's nothing shown. So it's an odd one. But if you're getting pottery and Roman coins, then that's interesting in itself. So let's just see what you come up with, Roger, and we'll revisit this again. So thank you very much. So I had a few things I wanted to do this week, and I had this thing on my phone for a while, right? And the thing that I had on my phone for a while took us to Pompeii. And I got to be honest with you, right? I have not seen anything like this. The type of archaeology that they're finding at Pompeii now doesn't stop. It's world breaking. It's the first whatever, right? But these just a few images that we're showing you of Pompeii today. I just looked at the screen today and I just thought, is this for real? Yeah. But this stuff was reported quite some months back, but I really didn't know about it. So what you've got, interestingly enough, this blue line, purple line is actually lengths of lead piping, right? Which are clearly visible in the archaeology. You'll see this structure, which blows your mind. Room 44 blows your mind, right? So, it's amazing what they're finding in Pompeii, and obviously all the other buildings as well, but that's something else. So look at this. Now, this is that one, the apotiterum, which is basically the changer room, right? Potiterum. But I just look at this and I just think, what? You just look and you think, well, in a way, this looks like so modern, right? Because it's like a floor that's got a type of Roman sort of concrete and all these little bits in there, and there's tessellated bits and all sorts of things, and you're just thinking, is this for real? But it is for real. This is and there's a point to be made directly about this, just fleetingly now. It does make me ask the question, right? Were things like this found before, right? Were and they've just been destroyed, right? And we've not heard about them, and that's why I'm starting to think. So how is it they're really starting to find some of the groundbreaking, amazing stuff now? Or is it that they had been found in the past and they'd been destroyed and they'd been lost and they'd been looted? So extraordinary. The headlines are extraordinary discovery reveals how elite Roman homes were much more than just private residences. They were grand stages for art, culture, and political networking. And if this was the only image, right, I would be over the moon, right? But there's more. So archaeologists working in Pompeii, and they've got a third to go. And my way of looking at this is that, do we really need to excavate all this stuff? But the Pompeii archaeologists are coming back at me and basically saying, well, if we're putting a roof over them and we're protecting them from the off, right, does it matter if we're excavating them now? And I'm saying, well, actually, no, you're doing something really different. Right, so this is connected. This spa private complex is associated with a lavish banqueting hall, right, in an area of Pompeii known as Region 19. So, and in Region 19, there is divided, like normal typical Roman town, it's divided into blocks, so known as insula. So this is located in Insula 10. So when you look at this and you think, yeah, that's my impression. It's like, well, that's lead piping. It's like they've obviously excavated this, and they've left, some artifacts there, and you've got this weird object here, and you've got this amphora, and you've got piping in the wall. Oh my god, I can't stop. You've got the painting. You've got, and you're just thinking, how has something like this survived? And it's just like everything was functional to the show of staggering us today, as it was staggering people in the Roman era. So this complex with tepidariums, warm rooms, coldariums, hot rooms, frigidarium, cold rooms, the apoditarium, which you've just seen, the changing room, and when you see things like this, you just think, well, it's almost as if you're in that moment and you're there again. And they're saying that this sort of bath complex, all these sort of pink buildings could have accommodated 30 people, with the frigidarium, for example, the coldarium, and the tepidarium, and waiting in the apotidarium changing. And this is really different, right? And what is really huge in all of this is this here, right? It's known, you've got like a peristyle courtyard, so you've got an open air in the middle, peristyle columns, and this is all the way around, right? Yeah, this is amazing. This is wow, right? But look at that. And you're looking at this for me is totally breathtaking, because it's like, let's all just jump in that sort of, let's all just jump in there. It's like a 10 by 10 meter peristyle courtyard, a large pool. Let's just all jump in there, guys, get our kit off and just jump in there and stay in there for hours. Remember, Pompeii's boiling hot, right? So this would be perfect. But what hits me is not just the pool, not just the lead piping here, right? So it's pumping lead into here, and you've got the drain there. It's blowing my mind. And you've got these columns here all the way around, and they're still in place. And you've got the modern scaffolding, which is going to support, they're going to be roofing this over so people can really enjoy this. So when we think about this is all about this sort of socializing the Roman world, in a way, you are the audience, or this is a grateful, hungry sense of archaeology. And what they're saying is just like, the typical sort of styles of painting and panels, and then there's other ones that are intellectually sophisticated, looking at the Greek and the Roman world, the opulent bath house of this moment. And I just think, I just think the cute thing there is that they've left a little bit of the pumice and sort of volcanic ash and stuff there just to sort of support the pipe, which I think is actually quite a nice quite a nice sort of thing, really. So what we've got, what again, what we've got is another image to show you, and look at that, and you're just looking sort of images on the wall, and you're looking at this and sort of trying to appreciate what you're seeing, right? And obviously, I'm presuming that the amphoras were found like that, and they're upside down because they've been used. So sort of amphora sort of storage area, and they did actually find 2 Pompeian victims associated with this as well. So this is known as the Blue Room, and again with the reds and the blue, and what you've got there. You've got the beams which would have supported the roof, which is all that timber has just sort of been ignited, and you sort of squint your eyes and you just think you're there, right? You're just there. So for me as an archaeologist, right, you don't really need to do any more than what you've got. Just leave it. For me, just leave it. Um, and obviously all that stuff there must be all the plaster and stuff that's fallen off. If you are going to restore that, right, you really need to indicate that it has been restored. If anything. And I got to, and 1 second, but I got to be honest with you, this really blew my head, because I just thought, well, look how so well preserved this is, and you're just thinking maybe you could squint your eyes and just sort of go into a bit of sort of a daze and look at this. But there's a few interesting things on here, and you're starting to think, well, what are these things here? It's almost as if they're footholds, right? Why are they there, right? Has somebody actually broken through here when this whole thing had been sort of covered in ash and stuff? Has somebody actually broken through here, sort of cut footholes down to get into? So this is actually part of the next bit of the archaeology, which obviously they're trying to understand. They're trying to give that picture. They're trying to show us this sort of experience of this odd Roman dream. So you could think about Coleridge, you could think about Chuck Tennyson in there as well, a few years later, and you just think, well, all that work would just sort of come alive. This is so poetic, right? It's not as bleak as being lost in ash. When you think about it, that pipe itself is almost as if it's ripped its way through the plaster, right? A bodge builder. And it's just basically been plastered over and painted. And obviously what's happened is that's ripped its way through the plaster, and it sort of gives you another take of this whole complex. And I'd like to think that the piping system for this would probably still work, right? It might be a little bit blocked, but it might still work. But again, this is just so exquisite. Oh, and obviously one of the little finishing touches, that with the bowl there, yeah. So again, I like seeing this, and I like to see Roman stuff like this. I really do. So what I'm going to do is, before we go on to one of the big questions tonight, looking at Chelmsford, yeah, is this tree, right? And occasionally you hear me observing things in the field, right? One of the observances was that me looking at Hollywood films and just thinking, well, how is it in these Hollywood films they've got marching armies going across fields and the grass is all mown, right? That's just not possible. It don't make sense. And then you start to think, well, if you've got a load of sheep, and they're kept on that field before a battle, right, the grass is going to be down to millimeters, right? So okay, work that one out. And you're starting to think, well, when you look at these opulent places like Fishbourne, right? And if you've got a grass area, right, and the sheep can be kept in a little bit, right, they could mow that grass really fine and be a nice, like, grassy area, right? So those little observances, and you start to see that with my own sheep. And one of the things that I saw told me I was right about something, right? And it's all to do with this image, right? So me and Michelle, we went to this rave, right? Yeah. And we went there, and the first thing I saw was trees everywhere, right? Lush green trees and green grass, right? And this is on Sunday, right? And it looked like this, right? Look at all the green there. Obviously, bit sort of parched, but there was loads of green stuff everywhere. It was just like thinking, why is this, right? And it just made me realize that I've been right. Me and Michelle have been right. The where we are in West Wales, right, where the farmers deliberately cut down all the trees, right, for the sake of just cutting down the trees because they don't like trees. They just cut down all the trees, right? And I just look around the landscape. Here, I had an image to show you earlier on. Here, the landscape, there is no green grass at all, right? The only green stuff is the gorse bushes and our trees, right? The rest of the landscape is starting to look barren, right? And you start to ask questions. The first question is, 200-300 years ago, was the landscape like archaeologists and historians tell us? Open fields being ploughed? Or were those fields a lot more trees, a lot more working in between the trees, right? Because when I present the Neolithic period, I usually go with the textbook stuff. In the Neolithic period, they cleared all the trees, right? No, not all of them. They cleared lots of trees, right? And they had open landscapes, right, for farming, right? But then I realized that back in the past, the temperature was a lot higher than today. And all you'd need is 1 or 2 spells, like we're getting now, right, for the entire landscape to be bleak, right? Because the crops ain't growing, because it's parched. The landscape is bleak because you don't have any hedges and trees, right? And I'm starting to think that maybe that assumption could actually be very, 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 very wrong, right? And you, for example, Michelle was saying the other day that where you've got up on the upland areas of the Rhondda Valley, right? They had barley growing, right? You don't have anything growing now at all. And you just start to think, well, maybe our assumptions of the past are actually wrong. And it is a mixed agricultural usage. Because when you've got sheep and cattle and pigs grazing in between these trees, right? And then in between these trees, the next year you had crops, right? You don't need to remove all these trees, right? And I start to see that revelation. So what we are going to do on the land that we've got, we're going to start planting hundreds, if not thousands of trees, right? Because that's better for farming than an open landscape, which at this time of year, and we're going to have more summers like this. And you start to learn things that you don't see in textbooks. And I just wanted to bring that to you. And by the way, this is Betty. This is Britain's oldest birch tree. She's over 400 years old, and she's known as Betty. So I thought I'd show you Betty. So what I asked a question earlier on, and this brought us back directly into looking at Verulamium, looking at Camalodunum, looking at Londinium, and that question of Calivra atrabatum and why Calivra atrabatum was not burnt to the ground by Boudica. So when I was doing my research, I basically looked at a place known as Chelmsford, right? And there was a comedic television series a few years back called, I think it was Chelmsford 1, 2, 3 or something, right? I'm going to chuck this at you straight away, guys. Chelmsford itself was built thanks to Boudica. It came about thanks to Boudica. No word of a jest. This place would not have existed if it wasn't for Boudica. Because Chelmsford was built after the Boudican rebellion. Nothing more, nothing less. And you start to think, well, that's odd. That's really odd. So, so what I went on the internet, and there was this weird article in the newspaper, which I'm not going to read out because I don't need to. But it basically talked about a skeleton, 3 of them, skeleton with a copper alloy crossbow brooch found in Chelmsford. And I just thought that was fascinating. What is it doing there? And then it turns out that Chelmsford became a really major Roman town after AD 61, but it didn't exist before AD 61. So that's really interesting. So unlike Camulodunum, Londinium, Verulamium, Chelmsford, which is Caesar Magus, didn't produce a Boudican destruction layer because it simply didn't exist as a Roman town before AD 61. So this is what got me interested in these images, and what got me interested. Hang on a minute. Right, hang on. Carl's just said that Chelmsford didn't exist before AD 61. Well, there were people living in the area, right? But as a town, as a major settlement, it didn't exist. But there's lots of evidence to say people lived in and around the area before AD 61. And you get coin hoards like this. This is known as the Great Baddow Hoard in Chelmsford, obviously buried well before AD 61. Yeah. It could have actually been buried in AD 50 or AD 44 or whatever, but it's 933 Iron Age gold coins that are now on display in the Chelmsford Museum, which cost Chelmsford Museum £250,000 to purchase, right? We won't talk about what I feel about that, but so in fact, current thinking a shift in an interesting direction in regards to Boudica, right? And this is in regards to Chelmsford. Caesar Magus appears to have been founded immediately after the Boudican revolt, almost immediately, right? Almost immediately. So let's just get into the minds of these people. We're not saying that this one here, they've got a crossbow brooch. It's a brooch shaped in the form of a crossbow, basically a cross, basically looking like a crossbow. And you're just thinking, well, how is it this, if the destruction by Boudica was so bad in Camulodunum and Verulamium that we saw last week, if it was so bad, how did they manage to get the people to build this, right? And this is the big question. The Boudican stuff, and I think Andy said the other week, doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. The written record doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense about how is it loads of localities which were bastions of Roman control, like Caliva Atrabatum, they weren't even touched, right? So we've got a few maps and stuff I want to show you tonight. So in a way, we could be thinking that Chelmsford, it seems to have begun as a military posting, or Roger, or a Roman road station. There you go, Rog. A Roman road station.
Is it different from a Mansio then?
Yeah, it's very different, right? So it's basically this might be slightly exaggerated, which it probably is, right? But it's based basically on just fiction, really. Because the other images don't show. This is the one that was used in the newspaper when they were talking about Chelmsford and the discoveries a few years ago. But it was like Roman military site before it became a civilian site. So if the dating is correct, there would have been little or nothing there for Boudica to destroy before AD 61, but there was a lot after AD 61. So what they've started to find is that in the initial stages, what they're finding in the initial stages is that they're finding timber buildings, and obviously maybe this might represent a huge mansio, which is like a Roman hotel, or is it some kind of something else? We don't really know. So then what we've got developing over a few decades is baths, temples, industrial areas. But all this comes after AD 61. This raises a fascinating possibility. Why did Boudica destroy Roman towns? And why didn't she destroy other towns? Which Roman towns owe their existence to Boudica? This one does. That's something else. So again, if it wasn't for the likes of Boudica, right, we would not get Chelmsford being constructed, because it almost being built within no time at all of the Boudican rebellion, which is really, really odd. So looking at this little bit of a list, right? So before we go on this little bit of a list, let's look at where we are, right? So here we go. So we've got Camel and Junum, Chelmsford, St Albans, Londinium. All the other stuff isn't on here, and obviously we go a little bit towards there, right? A bit further where the hand is. So we're looking basically a bit further, and we're looking at Caliver Atrebatum, right? So we'll come on to this map in a short while again. So this is rather interesting. So we know Colchester was destroyed, London was destroyed, Verulamium, St Albans was destroyed, Chelmsford founded afterwards. It says probably, but it is founded afterwards. We got the likes of Silchester, Caliver Atrebatum, outside Boudica's Roman attacking spree, but it wouldn't have taken much for her to have just gone down the road and to have destroyed Caliver Atrebatum. Caliver Atrebatum, as I've already said in the past, represented people that were signing up to the Roman ideals quite rapidly, and had been doing so for quite some time before AD 43. Chichester as well on the south coast, nothing in the way from Boudica. So with all of this being said, the archaeology is starting to uncover a new story for us and a new adventure. Chelmsford is a place that seems to offer a completely different story, a different way of organizing your mind in regards to the events after AD 61 and anything, if anything, associated with Boudica. So this is a topic where the archaeology is arguably more interesting than the traditional history. So looking at this map, obviously London is still an important trading administrative area up until AD 60, and it'd be more so afterwards, destroyed by Boudica, rebuilt and flourished as a major Roman city, right? Why wasn't the same thing with Verulamium? Why didn't that become the city? Catavolani Center, important pre-Roman settlement, major Roman town by AD 60, and a major Roman town afterwards, rebuilt and remained an important center. So what we're talking about, Londinium's rebuilt, St Albans rebuilt, and then Camel and Junum. There you go. Same story. Destroyed by Boudica, massively important before AD 60. There was a Roman military base there for a while, up until maybe AD 50. It's rebuilt and remained a major center. But what is massively interesting to us is what's happening with the likes of Chelmsford. a new city and 3 other localities being built. Where are all these people coming from? There's been a mass slaughter of people. What is exactly going on? We might take a little break soon as well. So, but one thing that we do have around Chelmsford, right? Even though we got no evidence of Boudica and what happened at that time in AD 61, right? Around Chelmsford, the modern Chelmsford, occupied before the revolt, people were living. It was an area for the Trinovantes people. Their capital was Camalodunum, not Chelmsford. And the river itself, the River Kelmer, provided a natural route inland. And there was Iron Age farmsteads and small settlements in the surrounding area. But there was no town at Chelmsford before the likes of AD 61. So following, if we give ourselves a little bit of a story, following the Roman invasion in AD 43, the Roman road from London to Camalodunum would have gone through the Chelmsford area. Archaeologists have found scattered early Roman material, including ditches, pits, and occupation evidence, suggesting activity along this route. So people are doing stuff along the route, but they didn't have a big centre at Chelmsford. And there's no evidence of a town at Chelmsford before AD 61. No evidence at all. Any evidence that we got seems to be sort of urban after AD 61. All this stuff is why. So this is quite different from Colchester, which was already a coloni. This is very different from London. This is very different from St. Albans Verulamium. And so what we'll do, we'll talk about those differences after the break. So if we have a little bit of a break now, right, I need a coffee. And so let's give it a go. Right, Roger, anything you want to say?
No, nothing. No, nothing yet.
What about you, Andy?
I was just curious with the Pompeii pictures, the one with the pipe in the wall.
Oh my God, it was gorgeous.
Has that been excavated by the archaeologist, or was it under repair at the time, like so many of the other buildings were at the eruption?
Right, I obviously the archaeologists wouldn't have excavated that out the wall. It's not got that signs of that at all. So
Okay.
my head is thinking twofold. One, in what you've just said, is that maybe that was under repair, right? Which would make more feasible sense. But in my head, it's also saying that obviously with the pressure and everything that's going on, and it's not too much buried into the plaster.
No.
It's just pushed itself out. So that's where I'm thinking and coming from.
Right. Okay. Well, like maybe with one of the earthquakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Good. Thank you.
Obviously we do have roofs that are being repaired at this time and all the rest of it. So so that's happening. Right. Anything you want to say, Pat?
Oh no, I'm fine.
Okay. And anything from you, Margaret? We'll have our little break.
I've just read that Caesar Omagus
Yes. Go
means
for it.
Caesar's marketplace. It's the only town that was named after Caesar. A
In
Caesar.
Britain. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a marketplace.
That's really
That's
nice.
all.
Good. Okay. Well, we'll take a break for 15 minutes. It's
Okay.
It's 6:11. I'm going to grab a coffee and a donut, and then we'll be back. I'll speak to you soon.
Okie dokie.
Cheers, guys.
Mm.
I just tried ringing David on his mobile, but he's not picking up.
Oh,
It's just ringing and ringing. And I can't, it won't let me leave a message. So do you think I should send a postcard?
you could do, or have you got his email address or anything?
I've got his home address. I don't think I've got his email.
I'll send him a postcard from sunny Arnside then.
I did that last time, and then he phoned me up and he'd just been on his holidays.
Well, I mean, that could be what he's doing now.
Yeah. But I mean, nobody's going to let us know, if something's happened, are they?
No, probably not.
No, I haven't got an email, but maybe Jimbo has.
Yeah, maybe.
I know he's not been well for a long time, has he?
No, he hasn't. No. It's just, yeah, he hasn't. He didn't say anything, did he? So
No.
but then he doesn't. So
If anything happens to me, I think Philip will let you know.
okay, lovely. Thank you. That's good.
I mean, hopefully nothing will happen, but you never know what's around the corner, do you?
I'm round the corner.
You are literally around the corner,
Yeah,
yes.
so I'll be around if I don't see you. So.
Do you know that the lad who lives across the road from me, Tristan, he sometimes works in the top shop with longish hair?
I think so. Yes.
He's a really nice lad. He's
Yeah.
got one of these 3D printers.
Oh, was he?
He has.
Right.
And he's at uni, he's doing robotics at uni. I think
Right.
it's just about finished. And I saw him yesterday. And he's doing AI. Everything, yeah, good way to go, isn't it? But he wants to do humanitarian aid using AI for a good thing. He said you tend to hear all the negative things about AI.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
He
Yeah,
said it plays a good part in. He said, like in Ukraine, Russia, they can use robots to clear landmines.
Yes.
So I thought, oh, I hadn't thought of that, but that's using it in a positive way, isn't it?
Yeah. Definitely.
For his exam, one of his exams, he made a prosthetic arm.
Ooh.
Yeah, using his 3D printer. I
Gosh.
just thought that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, you can print anything. You can actually now. There are proteins that you can get that you can print food.
Really?
Yeah.
You can print food?
Yeah, and you because of all the ingredients you can put in, you can put the proteins and things in, and the anything you need. You can also put different flavors. So you could have a banana that tasted of whatever.
The sausage.
Yeah, the sausage. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
It's just weird to think of. Obviously it's expensive, so it's cheaper to actually buy.
Yeah.
Can you ask him if he could do a statue of Lloyd George?
He probably could. He's made me a replacement light fitting for above my cooker. He said, just bring me the measurements and the broken bits and I'll make you a new piece. And it fits perfectly.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't he clever?
Yeah. What a nice boy.
He is. He's great.
It's all for the good of the country, I believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking of AI and the future and it all being very negative. And he said, no, it doesn't have to be. No. It can also be a force for good.
Yes. So it's going to be another good versus evil battle, is it?
It sounds like it. Terminator.
Oh.
Well, they asked AI apparently, what is the solution to all the problems in the world today? And it said humans.
Yeah, I was just about to say that it is.
Yeah. But we are what we are, aren't we?
We are.
We don't have to be like this.
I heard an interview with a guy on Radio 4 about a year ago, I think it was. I might have already mentioned it. I apologize.
I don't think you have, no.
But he was asked. He was at work for a firm that made what they call for viruses and the antivirus thing.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
A firm that was developing that, and they were using AI to develop new ones all the time because of obviously viruses mutate, so they need new ones. And he said he didn't really see how it was, and it was on cybersecurity. And he said I didn't really see what the point was. He said, but just as an experiment, he said we switched the computers off at work and set them up just for the night for 8 hours to see what they would come up with as biological weapons. And he said in 8 hours they came up with 10,000 deadly, like super deadly biological weapon compounds. He said, and that's just overnight. He said, so that gives you an idea. He said that even shocked us. So it gives you an idea of what AI can do in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
We had for the new film Containment Failed, which is going to take about a year and a half to produce and film. So we put a poster out there, and it was an AI generated poster.
Yeah.
And I had about 3 or 4 people saying, "Oh, why would people want to be involved with your film? Because you're obviously using AI with this poster." And I said, "Hang on a minute, right? I've signed a contract with Equity that we do not use AI in any of our film work. But what the hell is wrong with me using AI to produce a poster?" Right. And then they said, "Oh, if this is going to be your attitude, then obviously you're going to cut corners with actors and stuff." I said, "No, it's exactly the reverse. If we channel all our money to actually pay people to do physical work, and then the stuff that doesn't need physical work that we can't really afford, we can't afford artists to do posters to advertise a casting, right? So people just don't get it."
They're just having a go. They're just trying to stop you before you start.
Exactly.
I believe that Odyssey film doesn't use CGI or anything. It's all real people, isn't it?
Cutting off bits of real people.
No, it's all real people, extras in all the great big battle scenes and everything. It's all like it used to be when they did the old like Ben-Hur and Cleopatra and all of those. He's done it in that way, using extras, hundreds of them.
But then again, now don't get me started, right? I don't like using the word extra because I said to Andy a few weeks ago that there's a film from 1985 called Come and See, which and I told Andy about this, right? And it's filmed in Belarus, right? And every single person in that is actually in the credits, right? From the person who's in the shed, to, who's just about to die, to the top actors. They're all in this. And there's another series of film called Sishu, which is the 2 Finnish films, which I think are absolutely brilliant. Every single person used in the film in that is actually named in the credits, right? Unfortunately, Hollywood, when you've just described what you've described, Margaret, is absolutely amazing. Actually using proper people to do this, but unfortunately, lots of those people in the background will not be named in the credits, which I think is not right.
Well, there's too many of them. There's hundreds.
But hang on a minute. In Downton Abbey 3, there were thousands of people involved in that, and I looked at the credits until the end.
Well, maybe he has credited them. I don't know. It's me calling them extras.
Oh no, you just wound me up. That was all.
But I can't imagine he's named everybody.
Well, why not? Because these people have. I tell you what.
Do they even name the tea lady and the?
Yeah, why not? Actually, they do. No, actually, they do. That's the point. Because you're talking about 2 different things there. You're talking about actors and you're talking about crew members.
Yeah.
All crew members are usually named in credits, right? And I remember that obviously I am in the IMDb listing for Downton Abbey 3, right? But if you find me in the proper credits, you'd be struggling. However, people who have just done one dancing bit, right, and that's all they're going to do in their life, right, they're in the credits straight away, and I just think that that's just so unfair.
Mm.
Anyway, we've gone off on a tangent, right? And I desperately needed that break, and I desperately needed a coffee, but we're going to crack on.
Are
And
you tired? Are you very tired?
I was, but now I'm
I-
okay because I've had a coffee, right?
I'm really tired. Are you tired, Andy?
Sorry, I haven't got my mic on. No, not today. I was yesterday.
Everybody's saying they're really tired.
Oh, the heat gets me down.
It's the heat, isn't it?
And Andy's sick. Andy's sick of Count Binface. He really is. Oh, Andy. Well, can me and Margaret? Can me and Andy have a little political discussion, right?
Well, he's got good credentials, Binface.
Andy, because
Yeah.
the Clacton by-election is not really political because there's only one
No.
political party basically involved, right? So it's not political, right? What do you reckon, right? Farage or Count Binface could win this, right? Which one would you go for? And tell me, go on.
Oh, Binface.
You reckon he could win it?
I think he's got a very good chance. Yes.
He's not an idiot. He's quite well informed and he's got good credentials.
And he's an actor.
Yeah.
Well,
there
he's
was
the
a
one
debate.
I'd go for.
There was a debate as to whether he would, because it's Count Binface that's being elected, not the person behind Count Binface. So Count Binface has to have some ID and he has to have some credentials to be able to go into Parliament to have a security check. And he's Count Binface is kind of like a fictitious figure, but he isn't because he's real.
Yeah,
but it's like, but he hasn't got any past. And you're thinking, oh, this is just, yeah. And I think it sums it all up completely.
But can you imagine this actually happens? And then you think about the Prime Minister that was, I know what you said last week, Andy, but it's just that it looks the system is so screwed up now.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we've always had the monster raving loony party. Who often stand and contest a lot of elections, but they've never really got elected though. So
hang on, you're wrong. They've actually elected one county councillor once, and also if you look at their website, there is actually a few unopposed parish councillors who are actually in the monster raving loony party.
Yeah, okay, so perhaps they wouldn't be taken. Well, I mean, it's not an MP, so not a parliamentary constituency, is it? Which is kind of like, yeah. I mean, it's only a matter of time, isn't it? So.
Oh my God, it is only a matter of time.
Yeah. But it is a reflection as well, isn't it? So
it's a reflection of everything, and I just, it's like the elephant in the room, right? Going back to what I said earlier on, and there is a parallel. Why did the farmers cut down all the trees, and now the landscape looks like they can't do anything with it, right? And you're thinking, but therefore we're right because we've been to somewhere and it's green, right? Even though they've had no rain, like we've had no rain, right? And if it's all green, it tells you that you don't really have to have rain every 5 minutes for the landscape to be completely green. If you've got a biodiverse landscape, right, it will know, we're going to get a few months that it's not going to rain, right? So it's going to be okay, right? It's not going to set alight, right? We'll still be green, right? It's when human beings think they know how the landscape works is where things go wrong.
I'm reading a book on that very thing at the moment, that the biodiversity being able to support. This was about a lady who spent a time in Canada in the forestry commission side of things, and how they were stripping the ground. So they thought completely void of everything, they'll get better crops out of it. In actual fact, they weren't. And it's her fight to try and prove that you actually needed the biodiversity, and it actually helped the young saplings grow. And more nitrogen into things, and
Yeah.
supply water when they needed it to go through the mycorrhizal networks of the fungi. And it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you're thinking, and yet we're still using chemicals and still stripping the land, you know.
Yeah.
I was
So,
hearing
so
that, there's been a fire raging on the moors outside Oldham for quite a few, is it days or weeks, for quite a long time. And they want to be able to do a fire break. And because of all the red tape, they're not allowed to do it.
the answer is just do it.
Yeah, but they said the red tape would
Just
take
do
too
it.
long.
Just do it. I'm sorry about all this stuff. Is just do it. Right. Anyway, guys, we've got to crack on. We've got to crack on.
Yeah, in emergency scenarios, you usually can bypass red tape straight away. So
Well, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? It's common sense.
You just do it. Come on, just get on with it. That's the way you do it, right? Okay. So back to what we were saying. I want to go back to this Budokan thing there, and the whole point of all of this. So let's go to my notes. And strangely enough, there's nobody online, but that's life. Nobody's saying anything, but don't need to worry. So Roger, shut up. I wanted to say shut up, Roger. Roger's got the best of all worlds. He's going to go and visit you next week. So this thing that we're looking at, the archaeology, and the archaeology giving us a story that doesn't seem to equate to the actual situation on the ground. So let's just go back to where we were, and hopefully, right, here's my notes again. So I've got to get back to where I was in my notes. Get to where I was. Here we go. Right, we got there. Right, okay. I think I know where I am in my notes. We got to there. Right. So back to this thing that we've got with hang on, the archaeology, and we'll come back to this. Right, back to this. So Caesar Magus, thanks to Budokan rebellion, it became established there. So there wasn't actually an established organized town here, or a military settlement before AD 61, but there certainly was after. People did live within the landscape of Chelmsford, right? But it was only after AD 61 that what we do see at Chelmsford, something is really interestingly developing. There is no widespread burnt layer going across Chelmsford. They didn't find it in these excavations. It doesn't exist. So there's no archaeological evidence that Chelmsford suffered any fate because it was built after AD 61. So the evidence strongly suggests there's no significant settlement. There's no roadside or military installation. But why something suddenly happened after AD 61, how it suddenly sprung up all of a sudden, is really, really, really interesting, right? So Chelmsford for us becomes particularly interesting. Many archaeologists believe Caesar Magus was established in the years immediately after the revolt, and the one thing about Caesar Magus is that it's one of the only localities in Britain that has has a name of an emperor associated with it. Camalodunum is not named after Claudius, even though there's a temple there. So Caesar Magus is a really interesting locality named after Julius Caesar, not Claudius, not Nero, nobody else. So one thing that the rebellion demonstrated that Britain needed was stronger communications. So when we look at the map, for example, stronger communications, better administration, more secure movement of troops, and reliable stopping places along major roads. Is this all linked? I don't really know. It's really difficult to say. Caesar Magus appears to fit perfectly into a new strategy. So this is something that we haven't talked about. We're coming into, not this week, maybe the week after, we will start to look at the layers of black and compare them at Colchester, St Albans, London, and then we can start moving on to the rest of the country, right? But one thing that we've not mentioned is that Roman era Britain is administered very differently after AD 61. It's almost as if the Romans have realized that they've made mistakes. And those mistakes might be linked in with last week's conversation, last week's lecture, when we talked about, are there slaves? Are there not slaves? How are people working in Britain? Who are the slaves? Who are the people? Who are the Romans? Who are the military? And all these different things. So when you look at Chelmsford, right, you can clearly see that there's something interesting going on. You've got Londinium, you've got Camel and Junum, but smack bang in the middle is Chelmsford, right? And Roger mentioned earlier on, right? Could this be a Mancio? Could this be a government station? A Mancio being a hotel? Is there a proper military base here? But one thing the archaeology does tell us when they've excavated areas like this is, for example, Chelmsford itself suddenly springs up as a major place of industry, workshops, military, a governing post, increased civilian population, evidence that the settlement was becoming important, not within where it is on in the middle of going from that branch in the road all the way to Colchester. It becomes an important place. It's almost as if somebody said, right, we're going to create Caesar Magus, right? And there's almost some subtle information there that I can't read yet as an archaeologist, but there's something clearly coming to me that says that maybe the Boudiccan rebellion is not what we're told by the historians, right? And again, the little elephant in the room is the likes of Silchester, is the likes of Chichester, these places that were not affected by Boudicca at all. And something behind my brain there tells me that even though we don't have archaeological evidence of a town or something established before AD 61, there are things going on within the countryside. There are settlements, there are people living, right? Were they not affected by Boudicca, or were they? Did this? That's another question. That is another question. Did the Boudiccan rebellion just sort of go from here all the way through to Londinium, or here all the way through to Verulamium, and bypass all these other areas, and people were just nicely farming in the landscape? They were left, right? Is that what happened? Because maybe that's what it actually did happen. Because the reason why I'm getting excited about this is that there's something not in the story. There's something not offering us the evidence. What we're told by the historians is that the Boudicca just went from Colchester and killed everybody on the way, right? But if do you see my point? If people are going to go from Colchester and burn Colchester to the ground, go all the way to Londinium or Verulamium, whichever order they did it, right? Some say it would have been Londinium first, then Verulamium, or the other way around, whatever way you want to do it, right? The historians tell us that everyone was killed en route, right? So if that was the case, how were they able to establish Chelmsford more or less straight away if there's nobody living there? Because the people who were within the landscape would have needed to have brought their supplies to Chelmsford, food and all the rest of it to build it up. Those are the points I want to make. So if we as we're getting really excited, as I'm getting really excited about this, and we've got this other chart here, right? Let's just move on to this. Let's move on to this. Look at this here. A river crossing, a roadside landscape. The area lies within the territory of the Trinovantes, the former Trinovantes people. A crossing point over the River Clemmer, and tracks link settlement in the countryside. Iron Age farmsteads and enclosures are scattered in the area. No city, just a few settlements here and there. Evidence for activity along the route, but no town or major Roman settlement. And there's one interesting thing that I love about this image, right? Everything like I said a few minutes ago, right? everything that I said a few minutes ago, maybe the countryside is a lot more like that, rather than divided fields and sort of open agriculture that doesn't seem to do anything for the landscape. Can I just chuck something in here? Lincoln, right? Andy knows Lincoln very well, right? I know Lincoln a little bit. The Lincolnshire landscape is bereft, right? Now it's bereft, right? There's very little soil there, and whatever is growing there is kept down by chemicals, right? Now, was the landscape like that in the Roman era? I don't think it was, because if it was like that in the Roman era, there'd be nothing there to farm agriculture in the Lincolnshire landscape today. So that's my point, right? So what we've got is maybe the illustration in on the right here is a little bit more advanced than 10 years later. But just think about it. Within 10 years, roads were being fully established at Chelmsford. Timber buildings lined the main street. Trade was increasing. Where did the trade come from if everyone was dead? If Boudicca killed everybody, where did the trade come from? Where did the trade come from when they were re-establishing London? Where did the trade come from when they re-established St. Albans? If apparently everyone was dead, how did they manage to establish Colchester straight away after the Boudiccan rebellion of AD 61? None of these things make sense, right? But nobody discusses these things. Travellers and officials were using the settlement regularly. Chelmsford become important. So in other words, what we're talking about not only is Colchester important, not only is London important, this place is important, right? It would continue to grow through century after century with baths, temples, forums, public buildings, and so on. Why this matters, right? Chelmsford tells an important story that is sometimes overshadowed by the dramatic destruction and vehicle of the message of the Boudiccan revolt. Rather than asking what did Boudicca destroy, Chelmsford encourages us to ask how did Rome rebuild Britain afterwards? And all of these things are really, really interesting. In many ways, Caesar Magus, if we go to the map to sort of get a little bit more context, Caesar Magus represents the Roman answer to the rebellion. Instead of rebuilding only the devastated towns, the Romans reorganized their communication and administration. Or is that being oversold? Do I want to say that? I don't know. I don't really know what I want to say. New settlements such as Caesar Magus helped secure the roads between Londinium and Camel and Junum and form part of a more resilient approach. But one thing that I would chuck in here, they didn't build a massive Roman fort at Caesar Magus. They don't have the evidence for that. So it is what is subtly going on? What are we reading? Right. For archaeologists, that makes Chelmsford one of the clearest examples of how a town may have emerged because of the lessons learned from Boudicca's revolt rather than existing before it. So if we go back to this and sort of do the comparison, when we start to sort of ease into the one on the right and how things are going. So again, when we talk about the image on the right, Chelmsford after Boudicca. And guys, do you want me to say something revolutionary? Was there a Boudicca? Well, I didn't say that. But maybe one or two of you are actually saying that yourselves. A planned Roman town. There we go. Caesar Magus. An excuse to build this, or was there an excuse in the making? Right. Timber buildings. There we go. Got all of that. Thriving new town. Right. So again, not much there. Or let's just rephrase this. Maybe this all existed, and the Boudiccan. Maybe this all existed, and the 10,000 men with Boudicca and women that we will build Boudicca, because it wasn't 100,000 at all. There's no way. Maybe they come to here and said, right, can we have your chickens? Yeah, here's a couple of whatever. Because the other thing as well is Boudicca, whatever way you look at it, whether the story is that the historians say, which it isn't, I probably think that there is something in Boudicca as a head of something rather than one set individual, being very dangerous there. But all of these people are going to need what's there. By destroying everything, as the historians tell us, it's just not going to work. So this side-by-side reconstruction highlighting the different contrasts, right? So the other thing I want us to do is I want us to look at the locality of everything, right? So let's just bring this in here. This is a really nice plan, right? And guys, if any of you ever want any of these things printed out, then just let me know and I'll get Rona onto it. Well, chuck a couple over for postage because it's not cheap these days. But honestly, seriously, on that level, if anyone ever wants any of this stuff, all they need to do is send me a message and say, I want this, right? So look at this, Boudica's Revolt. So here we go. So what we've got clear destruction layers, Cameron, and it's a bit whippy, this map, because I think it's drawn along the lines of, obviously this is slightly out, but anyway, just go with the map. So capital of the Trinovantes, first major target. There we got that. Sheepan. We haven't looked at Sheepan, but we've mentioned it. There's a site outside Sheepan that has destructive layers, but Caesar Magus doesn't. So Verulamium, clear destructive layers. The arrow's in the wrong place. Clear destructive layers. And then what we've got, Londinium. I think I think this stuff that used to create this is a bit out, but all the destruction stuff is correct. What we've got is when we look at Londinium's over there on the right and so on, but what we've got is Silchester, Chichester, Exeter, Corinium, and even Leicester. None of these have actually Leicester, Cirencester, Exeter, Silchester, Chichester, Canterbury. None of these have any signs of the rebellion at all in any way, shape, or form. What does that tell us? That tells us something really, really interesting. So anyway, keep this in mind. We'll crack on. We'll crack on. So when we start to think, if we go back to the other plan, it's a bit more accurate, this one. Sorry about the other one. When we go back to this, let's just talk about a few facts, right? And this will help us when we start looking, for example, at the layers. Oh, by the way, I'm going to say it again. I'm really excited. I don't know. I got distracted early on. I managed to find something called the Munsell's color chart, right, which will help me look at the archive. I think of up to 500 bits of medieval pottery, right? So we're gonna color code all the pottery, and we're going to create charts, and we're going to get that published, right? But I found the Munsell's chart, right, and it's the universal chart used for color coding pottery throughout Britain, right? And I managed to get one from the States for 70 quid, which was great. So I just thought I'd mention that because there's some Roman stuff that I need to start looking at as well. Anyway, back to this. Colchester, Camalodunum, some of the information. This is the classical example. Archaeologists regularly excavate thick burnt daub, charcoal, collapsed timber buildings, burnt pottery, melted glass, carbonized food, very few human remains. The destruction layer is clear in Camalodunum, right? But I'm going to chuck in something odd in a few moments. Londinium, another very clear destructive layer in the City of London area. Continuous burnt layer, ash, collapsed buildings, burnt timber, burnt grain, destroyed shops and warehouses, bodies. That's debatable when we look at the skulls found in London in the River Walbrook. Verulamium, St. Albans, again an excellent destructive layer. We did this the other week. Burnt clay, ash, and collapsed buildings have been excavated, although unlike Colchester, not every building was destroyed. Some structures survived around the edges of the town. That's very interesting little fact there. Can I just say something? I don't know if any of you have ever heard this. Years and years ago, I heard a couple of archaeologists talking, right? And they said the way to find a Roman site is to find a black layer, right? Most Roman sites have this black layer, right? And if that's the case, and that's after AD 61, How does that tell us about the Roman period? Does it tell us that lots of Roman buildings were deliberately burnt? Then we can end that there, because if I've just said that Roman buildings were deliberately burnt for whatever reasons, maybe they wanted to build another structure, that's what you see across lots of the archaeology of Roman era Britain. Look it up. It's a little fact out there. And this other place called Sheepan, which is outside Colchester, the industrial suburb outside Camlandunum, was also destroyed. Evidence includes burnt workshops, industrial debris, destruction of metalworking areas. Now, again, this is all restricted to this area. The countryside around Colchester, several rural sites west of Colchester, also preserved burnt horizons, suggesting Boudicca's army devastated farms and settlements as it advanced, but nothing to that level at Chelmsford. So, as we sort of come towards the end of this revelation, right, an end of what I'm saying, right, I don't think I can answer the question about the real story of Boudica. But one thing I'm really happy about, not having to look at the historical record, because whenever I've done the Roman period and done the historical record, the archaeology doesn't match the historical record, and the historical record doesn't match the archaeology. But as an archaeologist, I almost make them work, which is the wrong way to do it. This is why we've sort of ignored what the historians have said, and we just focused on the archaeology. And if we again go back to this, so I think what I've tried to do with this sort of thing, looking at Chelmsford and all these other things, is that archaeologists are not simply looking for evidence of destruction. We're also looking about the evidence for destruction in different periods. And we also learn where areas are not destroyed and what is absent. It highlights the remarkable focused nature of Boudicca's campaign, which seems to have targeted the principal Roman political administrative centres rather than indiscriminately burning every settlement in southern Britain. And we don't see the evidence for them burning every single settlement in southern Britain. So I want us to stop there on Boudica and this archaeology, and we will come back to this, thanks to looking at the archaeological evidence from Chelmsford. And there's little Lamb, who's a lot bigger now, right? And she follows me around like a dog. So any questions about Chelmsford, we'll just leave that there, and we're going to go on to the next bit, right? Now, this. Where's my book? Right. I was in the caravan the other day, and I just thought, I cannot not give you this, right? I had to do this tonight. I had to, right? Because a few months ago, I made a statement, and it was wrong. And I made the statement, it basically said that the majority of the important tablets found in Britain are either at Vindolanda or they're in London, with not many found in places like Eberarkham, York, where they should be found, right? But we've got tablets being found in West Wales, and one perfectly preserved. And you cannot make this up. Look how well preserved that is. Roger, this is part of our heritage, Roger. And this
is excellent.
Roger.
I've got an alphabet of the handwritten stuff, the lowercase.
Yeah.
So you go through it to get an idea once you know what the Latin translation is.
Roger,
but
can I ask you? Can I ask you an honest question? Can I ask you? Sorry, Roger, to interrupt. Can I ask you an honest question? Had you ever heard or seen images of this Roman Trausvernith tablet?
No.
Did you know it existed?
Well, no, you say it's found in West Wales.
Yeah, it's found in Trausvernith, which is near Aberystwyth, Harlech. Yeah.
What about was it then?
So this basically, Roger, did you know this is? Yeah, this is Roman. Did you know this existed?
No.
No, nor
Okay.
did I. Nor did I. Nor did I at all. Right. This it said. Well, I'm going to read this out because I'm actually I'm. This is from the the National Museum of Wales's own website. It says the first page, Roger. It's not just one. There's more. The first page of a Roman will found near Traws-Fynydd in the 1800s. The tablet was already broken in two. Britain's only surviving Roman will was found in the 1800s near Traws-Fynydd, Merionethshire. Now, two letters written at the time shed light on its history. It goes on to say the first letter describes a wooden book consisting of up to 12 pages, as being found by farm servants cutting peat 5 kilometers to the southeast of the Roman fort of Tomanamur, which I've been to twice. And the letter reads, I saw the book a few days after it was first found. Only two or three of the tablets, then contained the inscribed perfect. On the rest, it had been partly obliterated by the carelessness of farm servants. The work is probably a relic of the ancient Druids, who may have employed a modification of the Roman alphabet to write their own language. The author of the letter was mistaken in thinking the text to the Druids, but did well to identify it as Roman, since at this time Roman cursive join characters writing was unknown. So obviously this is the lowercase, the cursive lowercase. So in Latin you've got the uppercase stuff and you've got the lowercase like we write today. This is the cursive stuff, right? So this for me is hugely important, right? As an archaeologist. And so it goes on to say the second letter records the delivery, probably in the 1800s, of one leaf to George Carl Pearson in London. So what they're talking about these tablets being found, up to 12 of them, and then somebody writes letters in the 1800s, right? And the second letter in the 1800s explains more about the story of these tablets and how they've not survived and how they've survived. One leaf was given to a George Carl Pearson in London. Pearson studied the tablet but never returned it. Eventually, the tablet was found again when clearing a house in West Kensington. So let me go through the story, right? There were up to 12 of these found, right? One survives. There are two letters about these tablets also surviving, right? So in other words, the tablet that ended up in London completely disappeared until it was found in an attic in West Kensington in London. In 1991, it came into the possession of a Mr. Ellerman, who in 2003 saw a television program about the writing tablets discovered at the Roman fort of Vindolanda on Hadrian's Wall. He realized he too owned a Roman writing tablet and took it to the British Museum for identification. And then it was given to the National Museum of Wales. For me, and Michelle's listening to this, for me, this is a piece of history that I never knew existed, right? And I'm going to chuck it out here, right? If you guys didn't know it existed, I wouldn't surprise me, because I've never heard this before. And me and Michelle were talking to me the other day, and it was like, look at all the things that people don't know about. We went to Pim Saint, which is the Roman gold mine, and Michelle saw that there was bits of replica gold there, and there was a little bit of a plaque saying there was these gold objects found, right? And there was no illustrations of some of them. And I come back and Michelle said, have you seen this? I said, no. And she said, well, look it up. Anyway, I eventually tracked down these objects. Some are in the British Museum, but there's two objects in the Carmarthen Museum, which are not put on display, which nobody's told about, like this tablet, right? And back to what Roger said earlier on, what I was trying to get at with Roger is if we could have a centralized archive, we'd know where all this stuff was and we'd be able to use it, right? But it makes me really angry that I stumble across this stuff, and I am in my 50s and I don't know this stuff exists. I've been doing archaeology most of my life. So anyway, it says and it's amazing that it survived, folks. It really is. The tablet is a thin rectangular slab of wood from a silver fir bird. From a silver fir tree, which are not native to Britain. The wax coating on one side is now degraded. Originally, this would Originally, this would have been a smooth, dark coating made of beeswax and a colouring agent, probably soot, in which the scribe wrote with his stylus, a pointed metal tool, to expose the pale wood beneath. Some 300 stylus tablets have now been found on site in Britain, but none have survived from West Wales, even though 12 existed in the 1800s. And I feel angry that I didn't know about this, and I feel angry that this stuff has been lost, right? And it could be in another, some of it could be in another attic in London. We don't know, right? So with careful photography and meticulous study of the original, it is possible to discern a ghost of writing in many places. So the writing is in a cursive script, as we said. The tablet forms the first page of a Roman will. And we'll tell you about the Roman will. Its author names an heir to his estate. Guess what, guys? Guess the sex of the heir to the estate. You're not going to get it. And this ties us directly into Prasutagus and Boudica. The heir to this Roman estate is a girlie, is a wife or daughter. It's a woman. It's a female of the sex. And that changes the whole narrative, right? It's a will, right? And the heir to the estate is actually a woman, right? Now, when we talk about Boudica, Boudica was the heir to the estate, and the Romans wouldn't allow it. So we're told. So the heir to this estate was a Roman, and it was a woman who had the estate. So from this, there's something, it really twists with your mind and your narrative, and charges them with responsibility for accepting it within 100 days of becoming aware of their inheritance. And again, this is such an important document. This is a really, really important document. The identity of the author and the extent of his estates were presumably detailed on the other 11 tablets, which are now lost. Or are they? Considering that Roman wills were regularly written on wax tablets with good reason to preserve them and millions of Roman citizens to write them, it is surprising that the actual tablets should be so rare. 4 are known from Egypt, 4. And now this single example from Wales, not from Britain, not being found anywhere else in Britain, from Wales. And I didn't know how important this was when I saw it in the book the other day, but it's here. So the translation of this is as follows. The name and status of the testator, which is missing. Before I die, I order that the name of that person's missing be my sole heir. Let all others for me be disinherited. Space. Oh, no other terms than that as much as I shall have given, shall have ordered to be given, and you enter upon, accept my estate within the next 100 days after my death, in which you know or can know that you are my legitimate heir in the presence of witnesses. Let the heirs be those who know that they are of this property, right? But if you do not thus accept my estate, if you refuse to enter upon it, be thou disinherited, whom I have instituted as my sole heir, right? Now, I think the direction in what I can understand of Latin, it's in a feminine directed projected line. So that means it's a female heir, right? So that's how we're reading a Latin in that. But for me, this is hugely important. It really, really is. And remember, guys, one little fact, right? This wasn't discovered until 2003 and sort of made public until 2004. So, Roger, the reason why you hadn't heard of it in all your life, and the reason why I hadn't heard of it most of my life, is because it was only made public in 2004. And do you know what? I didn't know this existed. I just didn't.
No.
So, Roger, what's your gut on this object, and how do you feel? Do you feel angry that it's not been made public, or it's not made more
I
available?
think not angry, it's a pity, because like a lot of things gathered by different people, different times for just collecting, just to look at with other things, and I think a whole pile of stuff is just to be looked at some other time or put away to throw out, all sorts of things. But the point is, the nub of this success is that it was found and brought out as a tablet.
Yeah.
So, okay, it was out of the way for a time. At least it was retrieved for us to sort of understand something about a Roman will. I don't know if
Yeah.
we've got much else saying anything worthwhile about a Roman will that I know of.
No.
And as you say, it's a great accolade that we found it in Wales. And a lot of
Yes.
people poo-poo a bit like in Cornwall, law, they didn't do much in Wales after, in this corner and all the rest. But there's so much we don't know, we can't say much. Just take it whatever we can as a gift of fortune, just by luck it's found. And I think we take it as that, not worry about what should have happened, could have happened. But we got this and concentrate on this as another step. Publicize it more. Now we can. And that might mean in the future, any of these will be given up more readily and not left. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Go on.
It's an amazing thing. It can be translated, the writing and stuff, but from a very different age gives us a clue as to how they dealt with their legal times when they died. So I think it's from that angle I see it. Luck, and let's enjoy it and publicize it so that other people might come up with other things.
And do you know what? Right? Do you know what? When I get to do a live show thing again, and I'll come to Cumbria and I'll do one in South Wales, I need to do a lot more research and find more of these things. It's just by accident that we come across these things. It's just like wandering into Pim Scent. We find that gold, right? This was because I looked in a book and I thought, oh, right, I'd never heard of this, right? You don't find these things readily available on the internet, and that's the other point. No. It's not available on the internet. No. Because the internet is really selective of what's there. And the other thing is with the internet is that it's becoming so crowded with crap. Mind my French, you just can't find things anymore. And no. And it's just anyway, I just wanted to bring that to you guys. And
it's amazing. Yeah. I'm signing off at 9:30, Clive, Carl.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, this is flowing quite well. I'm just going to see what other images that we got left.
I'm rounded off anyway. Yeah. I think that's amazing. That is that. It'd be nice to see the translation.
Yeah,
as best we can get one.
Yeah, a more. The thing is, it was a bit of a surprise. So I just found that by surprise a couple of days ago in the book, and I thought I need to share that with you. Yeah, it is.
It's a whole letter, not split up or cracked or anything.
It's good,
and it still reveals a lot, not perfectly, but there's a lot there.
Exactly. Really. And again, I might come back to her again, but knowing this, and it's just, I just think, I just think we need to work out a way to create a level of posterity for of what we've got, because
Oh yeah.
what everybody thinks, oh, we'll chuck it all on the internet. It's just not working.
No,
It's a system that's not working. And you know, Roger, I'm pleased that you're going to actually go to a location to do some research, because that's the place to go to.
That's it. And it's like with anything, when you say that as well, you get stories about what might be here and might be there, and it can either put you off because it's not worth it, it's been all taken away. How do they know it? Because they don't know what the whole lot is, what's there altogether. And of course, our challenge is always interpreting what you're seeing. Now, we mentioned Roman station, Mancio, a fortlet even, who knows? And why is it on an unmarked, or probably would have been a track or something, but they picked a spot, as it happens, near where the tower had been from, I guess, the Norman times,
Yeah,
Anglo-Normans from the castles, estates.
yeah.
So, it's just keep pushing and asking. And if you get people interested in what you're after and what might be happening, then you've got unpaid helpers. You know what I mean? That, like asking these people in the gardens, have you found anything? Oh yes, I found this, a pot, and you think, oh yeah. So I've got enough
And
knowledge so far on my own to give an indicator as to what it is.
yes,
If we find any other coins, the one they found in the gardens, I'm not sure what it is or what they've said, but at present, the Romans were around a fair time. If I do get coins, I need help in interpreting what they are. So you'd have to come in on that.
and the
Just
other
to,
thing as well, as Roger, it was suggested to me yesterday that maybe what we should be doing is more public stuff, more community stuff with the Lissig pillar, and not just my stuff.
yeah, yeah.
So that's why we've got a little piece going in from you coming up. So anyway,
See
thanks for
what
that,
we
Roger.
find.
I wanted to mention, guys, something else. That one thing that we haven't done so far when we've been looking at the Roman era is pottery, right? And I just wanted to add a little bit of food for thought. This is only a little bit of food for thought. Up in 1979, and there was an archaeologist. There was an archaeologist working, and basically, 1979, they come up with a whole term known as the Holt Roman pottery. Now, Holt is in northeast, northeast Wales, for example, and what they basically come up with is that the Holt Roman kilns in Wales, and this is a report, they found thousands of this type of pottery. And when you look at this pottery, it looks very modern in a way. And in fact, the Romans actually trialed out a certain type of glazed ware pottery, which is that object there, which is quite unique, because if I found anything like that, I would immediately date it as being medieval, when in fact it's Roman.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
When it's Roman. So
Oh,
I'm thinking I want to do a lot more pottery stuff. And this is known as a carinated bowl. And I actually, the other day I was on the internet, and I had a little video come through to me, and it actually showed a novel way of making a pot on a wheel, right? And I'll explain this now. That the way this person did this, and I think they were in somewhere like India, they put a like a bowl, like a metal bowl, on a little wooden wheel, right? Which they just moved around with their hand, and they gently moved the clay down the bowl, which was in the middle of this sort of wooden wheel that they were turning around. And then they shaped it, and they really made it look good. What that meant is that halfway along the bowl that they were making it off, right, you had half a pot. So what they did, they made the base on another sort of bowl, right, which was the bottom half, and they just shaped the two together. And I just thought that's in a way how you might be able to make some of these types of pottery. But again, what I've been getting at today, and what I've been getting at, lots of what we know about the Roman period and in regards to the Roman archaeology is only really hitting us over the last 50 years. When we think about the tablet that we've just looked at, which is from West Wales, that came to Earth in 2003, and people probably thought it wasn't real up until that point because nobody had actually seen it. This pottery found in 1979, up until 1979, most people thought that most Roman pottery was made in Dorset, right? When in fact, it's also being made in massive potteries in northeast Wales. So this actually changes the picture as more and more archaeology is actually found. We understand the Roman period more. We can't always close the door on when we're looking at the Roman period, right? It's the same as this collection of medieval pot that I need to process very, very shortly to get out in September. So I just want to show you this. This is known as the Alice Holt potteries, in basically linked to the Holt Roman kilns found in northeast Wales. So, and also there's also a type of pottery in Farnham in England, which is very similar. So don't get the two mixed up. But these are actually from the kilns in northeast Wales, and they've got quite a big collection in the National Museum of Wales. So if anyone's doing any research on this, you have the Holt Roman kilns in northeast Wales, which are similar to the Farnham potteries in England, which are also known as the Alice Holt forest potteries. What we're going to do, we're going to explain that. We're going to look at it in the near future. But I wanted to give you just a little bit of an eye into pottery, and we can uncover that, not tonight, but another time. That gives you an idea of some of the Roman pottery. So this opens the Roman pottery, not just black burnished ware, not just Samian ware, not just grey ware, not military ware, but also stuff from northeast Wales. And the other thing as well is, right, when we haven't found where all these kilns are, so there's a lot more to learn. And I just wanted to mention before we finish tonight, is what our land looks like in West Wales. It's dead because we don't have trees, because all the trees were felled by local farmers before we moved here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start covering it with hundreds of trees to actually bring the landscape back.
Well done.
And Roger, can I just, before you go, can I just ask if I'm being slightly arrogant, right? When I've been banding on about the fact that the local farmers are just cutting down all the trees because they just want to use the landscape for sheep, right? So when something like this happens, the landscape's dead, right? And I just thought, surely there's another way. And then we go to this place on Sunday and we find all this greenery, we find all this lush landscape, and I think, right, I'm right. It's actually the trees, and maybe archaeologists have been wrong that we've cleared all this landscape. Maybe the landscape was more mixed. Maybe there was more trees. Maybe our ancestors knew a lot more than we do today. Is that me sounding arrogant, or is that me sounding realistic?
I think that's realistic, brave, because a lot of people argue against this for making money and all sorts. But the thing is, I think trees are wonderful because they produce oxygen. They give us a lot in the way of wood when we need something, and always have. But they cover the landscape as they used to quite a lot. This country was an awful lot of coverage, which was brilliant, very pretty, and all sorts, as well as nature's best. It's what was provided on this world planet. We're just taking it away, and it's giving all sorts of, well, I don't know, it's robbing the country of interest. In many places, they're taking away the trees, and the roots now no longer can keep the earth together, so you get landslides.
And there's no moisture kept in the earth.
Country, it
because there's
happened
no
in a big,
roots.
where was that road? Not West Wales, somewhere where the whole lot went because they've been taking trees out for one reason or the other.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
too much. You just can't keep robbing it all
yeah.
and not paying attention. If it's just purely business, that's one thing. But you've got to protect the villages when landslides, which too many countries haven't, and they're getting the payoff now, and they're getting losing people in villages. It's their own
Well,
bloody fault because the thing is, these things are there. Nature's had its way to provide all these wonderful trees, magnificent things. And I think it's not arrogance, but you've got to be persistent to achieve something that suits our world and not just us. So I think
I,
you're on the right road. Nothing
do,
wrong.
do you know what I want to see? I want to. I haven't told Michelle this. So I'm gonna find a few more hundreds of pounds to get trees planted here, even if I got to go in serious debt. I want to go. I want to possibly to have you guys back in 5 years. I want to show images of what we've managed to achieve.
Well,
And
yes,
if we've achieved
if you wanted
something,
some,
yeah,
like back getting some or pay for some trees to go in there.
yeah,
You're going to buy the saplings type of thing that all
yeah,
cost, but to start us between us, not because I want to be famous, but it's so important
yeah.
and interesting and a savior for the land. And of course, even the sheep go into the shade of trees,
They need it. They need it.
cattle.
And obviously what the sheep get is they actually get different things to eat, not just grass.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So no, it's fine. Good move. Sooner the better.
Good. That's what we're
Because I've
doing.
got a few in my garden, a small garden, to help things. But yeah, I'm limited. But you've got more chance there and better.
And that's
Good
what we're
idea.
doing.
Okay then, Carl.
We're doing it. So you've got to leave us now,
Look
Roger. Have
forward to
you?
it.
So that's been good tonight. It's a bit been lighter. There's been less of us, but that's been fine. So Roger, you're leaving us now, are you?
Yes.
All right, Roger.
Bye.
Bye,
It's been a
Rog.
delight, Roger. So we'll see you next week.
Next Tuesday, all being well. It might be a bit cooler for some of you. It's not
Best of
too bad
research.
here. It's warmed up
Best
a
of
bit.
luck with your research. Okay then.
Anyway, good night all.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye,
Bye,
Roger.
Rog.
Night, night, Rog.
Cheers, my dear.
Night,
Lovely
Rog.
to see you back.
See you next
Margaret.
week, Rog.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Cheers, and
Bye.
and
All
good
right.
luck, Carl. I'll keep you posted.
So you should. We'll see you then. Right. Okay then. Andy. Oh, I tell you what, Pat might need to go because she does get tired, right? So Pat, anything you want to say?
No, I thought it was really interesting. I hadn't heard all that, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I've appreciated seeing it as well. I've appreciated you guys here, and I've just sometimes I'm thinking, not that you sometimes you think that you know it all, and then the next minute you don't know anything, and it's just like that's the place you need to be sometimes, and there's just I think there's not so much there's more to learn, there's more to find,
Yeah, right.
as we've seen. And I know the first thing if Michelle's listened to most of this, she's going to be going, yep, there's obviously more out there, and there probably is, and for somebody to find this in an attic, not just over 20 years ago.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, like I haven't got words. Okay, anything else you want to say, Pat?
No, thank you.
Okay, right. Margaret.
Has it been in a museum ever since?
It's in the National Museum of Wales, and you know what? I've got a feeling, right? The problem is, what I might do is ask to see this and take a few photographs of it. I'm not exactly sure I'm going to see what you've seen, because from the description, which was quite a brief description, is sort of indicating that they may have used high resolution photography to get that. I don't know, right? But it would be, even if I'm just looking at a bit of wood, right? It's a bit of wood that tells a story, and that's the story that I want. I won't be able to handle it. It's not like a piece of gold like I did in Carmarthen Museum, but you can handle gold with gloves on. Except in that room that day, I had 5 people in that room. Not that they thought I was going to nick it, because they hadn't seen it for decades either. There was one person in that room. He said, "Oh, I haven't seen this object either. That's why I'm here." And he
Well,
works in the museum.
there are hundreds of objects stashed away in museums and drawers, aren't there?
And that's in the museums, right?
Well, yes, exactly. So there could be all manner of things that are yet to be seen.
Exactly.
Could
Definitely.
take years.
And unfortunately, I wish we all had those years, but we don't. Maybe, yeah. I was just, yeah. Think things take a weird turn in life. You know, I was. I read an email earlier on. Right, it was like from an archaeologist inviting me as a guest with food and so on to a conference. And I just found that this email by mistake 2011, and I thought, how did I miss this? You know, you come across these realizations, and you're thinking, well, yeah, it's just maybe you should just keep going and find out what you can find out. So
yeah, don't get stressed about it. It's not worth it.
Exactly. Keep moving on.
Are you going to plant an orchard? Are you going to plant some fruit trees, do you think?
Oh, we got loads of fruit trees here. So
Have you already?
yeah, so what we've got loads of fruit trees. So what I'm going to do now in our woodland, in our larch woodland, there's lots of timber that has come down over the past few years. I'm going to drag that up and build some nice fencing and stuff. But the thing is, to create a really nice woodland, right? It's not about trees and making things look pretty. It's about bringing in boulders. It's about chucking a boulder here and a boulder there and a bit of rotten wood there and some other stuff over here. It's about all that other stuff. It's not just about planting trees. It's even about chucking a load of piles of brick in the corner. You know, it's about all of this stuff, right? It's not about making a place look nice and tidy.
No, I know that.
So, you know, this is what we're gonna try. The thing is, what we would love to do is buy more acres of land. We can't, because there's not any for sale and whatever. But if we had the money, but we can do enough with what we've got, and we're not doing enough with what we've got, and we need to start doing it.
Are sheep happy enough to graze between trees?
Oh, they love grazing in between trees.
They like a bit of shade, and they like to rub against a tree, wouldn't
Yes,
they?
they do. Yes, they do. And they like rowan berries and all the rest of it. I tell you what, right? If we took our flock of sheep to where we were on Sunday, right, we could just leave them there for a decade and they'd be happy, right? They're not happy here because we've got no grass anymore. And what we were planning to do, we've moved all the sheep off the field, off this massive field. Well, this big field behind me, right? We've moved and there's no grass grown back. So what's going to happen now is that we can't move them because there's nowhere to move them because the grass is dead. Now, if that was full of trees and stuff, right, the trees would have sheltered the grass and there'd be stuff growing up and all the rest of it. We didn't know this was going to happen, and it's happened, right? So when it starts raining, which is going to be a lot of rain, we're going to try and keep every single
deluge, won't we?
Yeah.
What are the best kind of trees to grow, do you think, on your land?
Well, to be honest, we don't know, because we need to shape the landscape to what we need to make the landscape work. We need to put more ponds in.
Yeah.
Rowan loves living here, right? But then again, Rowan loves living here because it's used to the conditions, right? If we can change the conditions back to something, what we need to do with our existing trees, we need the way to create woodland is to create levels of trees, right? So creating a barrier at the top between the neighbor and us. We had a load of trees from the Woodland Trust, right? And constant arguments with Michelle about why are you putting the trees close to each other, right? And I did. The reason why you plant trees and you put them close to each other because they look after each other. and eventually one or two of those trees will have to succumb to the other trees. But this is how trees work. You can't put a tree there and 20 meters over there you put another tree, because it's not going to work, right? So I don't want to say to Michelle, I told you so, but then again, I might be wrong, right? I might have been wrong back then. But what's happening is that at this minute, the trees are looking after each other, right? So we've got gorse, we've got these trees, right? And then, it's working as it is so far. They're looking after each other. But what we've got to do something a lot different. We've got to use not just trees. We've got to have boulders and trees and wood and all the rest of it. All that's got to work together, right? So, and then it can work. But it's we've been here for 5 years. If we'd only realised this then, but now we've realised it. We can spend another 5 years getting it right.
I think the biggest disasters we've had here have been the storms, haven't they, Andy? That have blown very ancient trees down that have been standing for a couple of 100 years.
Yeah, it has caused quite a bit of problem. But that is also part of the cycle of a woodland as well.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
A tree comes down, you've got to leave it, and that because
the wildlife then they like fallen trees, don't they?
Yeah.
So it's kind of alive in a different kind of way.
Yeah. And then what happens when that tree comes down? Then little saplings from either side come up. They use the shelter of the tree, and then that's the competition between the trees. Actually, to be honest with you, right, our woodland, right, we've got some elder trees that have come up, right, which would not have come up if a tree hadn't gone down.
Yeah.
So we don't know where those elder trees have come from, do we?
Yeah,
they just happen.
Elders put a lot of nitrogen into the soil as well, so they're really good for bringing
They're good ones.
Other trees, especially the shorter versions.
Yeah,
you get, is it red elder or whatever? It's like a bush rather than a tree.
Yeah,
that brings in nitrogen, and that also encourages the fungi growth that builds up the network to allow other ones to grow. Then, so really
are alder a good tree to grow? I know they like water, don't they?
Alder, not elder, alder,
alder.
Yeah,
maybe
our ground is too dry, but the reason why it's too dry, it's the way it is. If we can change the way it is, if we can alter that.
Alders soak up a lot of water, but they also transmit it to other trees once
they do. Yeah. So in the Lake District, they blame the sheep for all the barren fells, treeless fells that we have.
Yeah.
Did they fell the trees for the sheep?
Yes.
But that wasn't necessary if they're quite happy.
No,
is it just the amount of sheep? They wanted loads of sheep.
Actually, I personally don't understand it anymore. I really don't, because that's probably the thing I should have said. I don't understand why you need to cut down all these trees for sheep to graze, because
you saying that they're happy amongst the trees just makes me think, why did they
Michelle, would you agree our sheep would be happy? Yeah, Michelle doesn't often agree with me, but she agrees. Let's use the expression, right? Exclude the expletives. Our sheep would be pigs in shit if they could just be around trees all day, because
that confuse them.
But no, the point is, sheep like nibbling bits and bobs. They're not just into grass, right?
That's the argument as to why they get the blame in the lakes, is because the theory is that they, like a goat, would nibble all the young saplings up.
They probably
whether
would.
they do or not, I don't know.
But sheep will only damage trees, right, if they're a certain height, right?
Yeah.
If not, they just go on to something else. Goats will, but sheep won't. We've, for example, right, with absolute, we planted a load of trees by a pond that no longer exists because there's no water in it at all, right? but we've got a load of trees over there, and the only major attack we've had, the sheep grazing in amongst those trees, right, which was a new little woodland that we planted. They've only killed one of the trees there, right? They backed another one, but we managed to bring it back. But they killed one tree, right? But they've been grazing there for like 3 months, right? Now, the reason why they managed to damage that one tree is because the goats got in there one day, and they started it off, right? So it's likely that all of those trees would be fine now, right? And that's in a small area. And it's my belief that trees themselves are massively advantageous to sheep, right? Like they are to deer, like they are to pigs. And obviously they would be for cattle as well. Highland cattle, Angus cattle, and you're just thinking, well, what they do, they churn up all the ground, and you can plant in amongst them. You know, it's we've started a little herbery in the little bit of the woodland, right? And the plants are coming through, but unfortunately it's been upset because of the lack of rain, so I've had to water it. But you know, it's just to see how things develop. And I think if we now make a massive change and ignore everybody else, because as I've said before, you start at the bottom of the hill. To us, there's a kilometre to go, and you go up the hill. There's very few trees, there's hedges, a couple of trees, and you go on hedges, open fields, and you come to our little larch woodland, and you go up around the bend, you've got more trees, right? And you've got a load more trees, and you go off, and there's just open landscape, and there's nothing. A clump of trees, and you go to the top, and it's nothing. There's no trees at all, because that's what the farmers like. They don't want any trees. And it just does, it makes no sense. I don't understand it.
Well, you'll have a lot of sheep farmers in Wales. It's noted for its sheep, for its lamb, isn't it? And I suppose they've got massive flocks and sheepdogs rounding them up.
Well,
it's a different kind of farming, isn't it?
But if you listen to it this way, right? These coniferous woodlands, right? These coniferous woodlands have no nutrients going into them at all, right? They're closed off woodlands with barbed wire around them, right? If you had flocks of sheep going through them with all their dung and all that stuff going into the soil, right, it would make the conifers a lot more fruitful. Except you go into them, they're dry, they're dead, and that's why the trees go up in flames.
I wonder if our Herdwick sheep in the Lake District would like trees. They are very hardy, fell
they probably
creatures.
would.
Do you think they would?
They probably would, yeah. They probably would. My God, that's been a longer discussion than I thought. Anything else you want to say, Margaret and Andy?
I wanted to ask about that tablet.
Go for it.
It looks, might be wrong, but it looks bigger than the other ones, like the Vindolanda ones and the ones from London.
Isn't it?
Do you know what? It's been such a last minute, that thing tonight, that I've not really done a massive amount of research on it. I haven't got any scales of it, so if I try,
it is genuine, isn't it? It's not a fake.
Yes. Shut up. Yeah, no, you really upset people. Charles Vernith, Roman. See if I get some. Usually, what you find is there's a Wikipedia page and it got some stuff on it which I haven't even looked at. Right, so that there, it was founded in 1840 by peat cutters at Body Fouthon Farm. A thin rectangular piece of wood featuring shallow recessed face with original held blackened beeswax. Made between AD 75 and AD 125, which is the same date as the Vindolanda ones, which makes me wonder something, right? Why are all these tablets around the same time? We've had that question before.
Why is it being chucked away in the bog? It's quite important to whoever wrote it.
Here it is. I'm trying to get a scale here as well.
Well, it's been used, so it's not whoever's written it will have read it
Mm.
and then chucked it away because they used a different principle of writing, perhaps after that.
Mm.
And the other thing as well is, since it's been online from 2018, less than 1,000 people have viewed this thing. So not many people know it's even out there.
Right.
Mm.
I haven't got scale. It's not giving me scale. And even that type of information should be readily available, and it's not. It does make you wonder. It really does.
It just looking at the number of lines of text on it, it just looked bigger scale wise.
Mm.
But of course,
It does.
it maybe is, it's written in a smaller scale. So
Oh, and I've got a beautiful image of it, which I can't show you, but it's just several different lines. Oh, the original writing tablet. Here we go. I've got the scale. Hang on, let's do that. Hang on, let's get this. Let's get my ruler out. Right, okay. Let's get my ruler out. It's that can't be right. 147 millimeters. That's 14 centimeters wide.
yeah, I think it's bigger than the other ones, isn't it?
Hang on a minute. So that's 14 centimeters. No, it's not massive. It's that. It's 15 centimeters. Okay, and it's 10. So it's that.
Oh, it's
So,
about the same size then. Yeah, that's about the same size as the Vindolanda ones, definitely.
yeah. Yeah. So we've got to come back to this one once I've got a bit more information. And you know what? It'd be good to see this one.
Yeah.
It would just be a designated trip to see this in the National Museum of Wales, but I'm sure I could wing it. It would be well worth just to look at this, just to just spend an hour on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's actually this is not the only set of writing on it. There is another layer of writing on what I can see in front of me. It's been reused.
Yeah. Well, that's not surprising, is it?
Oh, you can't see it at all, but there you can.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, hopefully we can get back to that bit, and brilliant.
You said it's written about the same time as the Vindolanda ones.
Between roughly going up to no later than about AD 125.
Right.
So yeah, and that leads us to the point: why don't any tablets survive from AD 400?
Yeah. Ooh, lot of questions there.
Yeah,
aren't
too
there?
many, but it blows your brain.
Paper.
Exactly. Paper. Shit. From China, exactly.
I don't know. I don't know when that came in.
Did you know when you burn paper, right? I do this because I got little scribble pads like this that I scribble out and I burn it, right? And then what happens is the stuff I've scribbled out, right? As you're burning it, right, you can see an image of the original writing under the scribble, right? And actually, if some liquid's added to it, you can actually still preserve the writing that has been scribbled out.
That's a bit spooky.
With the heat,
It is weird,
it?
right?
The
So in other words,
the heat.
if somebody burns a document in front of you, right, and you want to preserve that document, right, if you can get them away from the fire, right, and obviously the fire's out, probably that top leaf is still legible. And there's another technique. If you reburn that leaf as you film it, as any remaining carbon on there is destroyed, right, it shows up as you film it.
Ooh.
Spooky, I know. I do these
It
stupid
is,
things.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So if you've got a mystery love letter to Roger, Margaret, if you want to stop your children seeing it, right, you need to tear it up in bits and you need to flush
Yeah.
it down your loo.
Swallow it.
Sorry, do you want to go out? He was looking for food a minute ago.
Exactly. Right. Anything else, Margaret and Andy, before we finish?
No, that was interesting.
No, that's good. Thanks.
Okay. Well, we'll call it a day. I've got to get the goats in, and I've got to get a little sheep across the field to feed it, and we will hopefully see the two of you next week.
Okay.
I might be Wednesday next week. So I've got quite a lot on Monday and Tuesday. So
Oh God, is it?
Oh, have a nice time with your
Around you.
the family.
birthday. Are you having a birthday party?
No, I don't think so. I'm not quite sure what we're doing at the moment, but we'll do something definitely. But yeah.
Anyway,
well,
happy birthday, Andy.
Yeah,
happy
bless you.
birthday, Karen. It's Karen, isn't
I
it?
thought it was Andy's birthday. Happy birthday, Karen. Okay,
Yeah,
fair enough.
mine's in April. Been and gone, mine. Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. Jolly
Okay.
good. Thank you very much.
Whatever
Thank
you do something that Karen wants to do, not looking at a load of remains that you want to see, Andy.
Well, I don't see why. I get to do what on my birthday what I want. We have to do what they want. So
Oh,
Margaret, let's
boo-hoo.
keep out of this. It's nothing to do with us.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah, kind of puts you off birthdays, to be honest. I look forward to the ones in the week where I can take the day off and go where I want to, do what I want.
Michelle's too far away from Glastonbury. That's where she would want to go.
Is it
Yeah,
really?
that would be a nice day out.
She'd go back. She'd go there. I'll give her a tenner. She can go towards a new pair of Dr. Martin boots that cost 150 quid.
Karen used to wear docks. Yeah.
Oh God. Oh, she'll tell you a story about the Dr. Martens when she sees you. Right, we'll leave that one there. Right, all right then, guys. I'll see you next week then.
Okay.
Yep, lovely. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Night, Margaret.
Bye.
Night, Andy. Night.
Bye.
Night. Anyway, anyone been watching online, which you haven't, but that was, again, it makes me feel sort of in thingamajig. Oh, here we go. There's somebody come online and they've just said something which is great at the end. They've said their mole trees fail to produce rare mushrooms. What? Goats climb, not sheep. What? All cattle respond to the sun, nothing magic. I am a farmer, are you? Yes. Don't know what bloody hell means that is. Anyway, won't freet M8 on there, whatever they're on about. And I'm going to call that a day. So thanks for joining. Anyone like and subscribe. Nothing in the chat box. I've got to sort out my sheep. So obviously I'm not a farmer because I haven't got sheep, which I've got sheep and goats. Right, anyway, so let's do that. So nothing in the chat box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nostalgie, like and subscribe, guys, and watch what you're doing. Thank you very much, guys. Night. And look in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do.